Hello there, everybody. I hope you've all had a wonderful work week. Now, if you could magically transform your brand into the same value of another, which brand would you choose? But therein lies the problem, eh? What do you mean by value, you might ask? Is it authority? Is it trust? Is it financial value? Or just plain old popularity, recognition no matter what the emotion associated with it? Well, search company Moz has just launched a new metric called brand authority, where you can measure your online brand strength. But what does that really mean? Well, let's find out. This is 5 minutes of news that you need to lead in marketing. Let's roll. Hello, everybody. Robert Rose here with the Content and Marketing Strategy News. It is what's new, but as you know, it's more importantly what's important in the world of marketing. And for the best and best practices, you can head on over to contentmarketinginstitute.com. So this week, Moz, the SEO and marketing software company, has launched a new capability in measurement called, the brand authority metric. The company said in its press release, it's the first go-to-market metric to measure brand strength and salience. 100 internet points, by the way, to Moz for getting the word salience into the conversation here. But as I understand it, what salience really means here, though Moz doesn't really actually say this explicitly, is that they're measuring a score of how much the brand has established itself as a strong entity that is being discussed, or basically is highly prominent in the discussion at large. That's important, because what that really means is that it's a measure of what we might broadly call popularity, or the general trend of being in the discussion. So brands could theoretically score very high here, independent of what people are actually discussing about the brand. But very simply, if we were to say, the most hated brand in the world, well, we might score pretty high here. Now, to be clear, Moz is positioning this new score as a means of valuable authority online. So this is through the lens of search, and that makes perfect sense given what Moz does for a living. And as they say in their announcement, quote, users can assess their marketing gaps to maximize their return on investment and see the true value of sales prospects and potential acquisition targets and assess the real influence of the media brands that pick up their stories, end quote. That is one heck of a press release. Anyway, I would tend to agree with all of that, but what I would point out is that because it's measuring a general snapshot of the importance of the brand as part of a larger discussion, well, then the score is much less interesting than the movement of the score. Now, put really simply, and speaking to the value of the feature in the software that I would agree with, I'm much less interested in my score at any one time, but the movement over time given my efforts. More popularity might not always be good, and I can use other methods to determine that whether an upward or downward movement is positive or negative given my strategy. As an example of this, when we start looking at the scores, Moz also provides the top 500 brands based on brand authority, and you can definitely see the measurement of popular discussion at work here, as the top 10 are probably unsurprising to you. Google, YouTube, Facebook, Amazon, Walmart, Target, Yahoo, and maybe the most surprising in that list, Home Depot, Walgreens, and Fox News. Now, that's interesting, because we might then look at the world's most valuable brands financially as measured every year since 2006 by Kantar, and we can see a few crossovers with Google and Amazon, but certainly mostly different companies, namely Apple, Microsoft, McDonald's, Visa, Tencent, and I was surprised here, Louis Vuitton, and then MasterCard and the brand that's been there forever, of course, which is Coca-Cola. Interestingly enough, Apple barely makes the top 20 in Moz's brand list, and Coca-Cola doesn't even appear in the top 500. And then, of course, there's trust, a trust list that we might have in brands. And Morning Consult issues a report, and they called it the most trusted brands in 2023. And again, there's an interesting list that there is some crossover. Amazon, of course, making the list. But also, interestingly, their top 10 was Band-Aid brand, UPS, Amazon, Lysol, Kleenex, Cheerios, Visa, Dove, The Weather Channel, again, which surprised the heck out of me, and FedEx. In this case, UPS is 24, FedEx at 13, Amazon at 4 were the only ones to even make Moz's list. And finally, there are, of course, the most distrusted brands. And there are, of course, lists of that as well. Axios and Harris recently conducted a poll on reputation and found the top distrusted brands there. And of course, Meta, Facebook, Spirit Airlines, and Twitter are on that list, probably unsurprising to most people. So it just goes to show you that you may have a lot of financial wealth and your brand may be part of the discussion, but it might be that you're on the wrong end of that discussion if that's not your strategy. Fascinating stuff. What all this means, of course, is that brand value is, as we all know, highly subjective on how we define value. And it's almost certainly most accurately measured across a number of attributes, including financial value, trust value, popularity, and authority. Now, as marketers and stewards of the brand that we work for, we are here to help orchestrate, because we can't possibly control it, but orchestrate we must, the perception of our brand and its value over time. Our brands are simply the sum of our promises kept by the company we keep. They are simply spaces in which our customers create their own value and look at us in a different way versus our strength to orchestrate that lens. Now, this new brand authority score from Moz will be interesting and certainly does seem to offer marketers a useful tool to measure the efforts to move the brand forward or backward, as the case may be. But the only thing to keep in mind is that in some ways moving up that list may not be your right goal. But you let me know what you think. Where are you in your brand reputation journey? And how does it all relate to the marketing strategy that you have? What are you striving for? More financial value, more trust from your customers, more awareness, more popularity, or something else indeed? But for now, that's 5 minutes of what you need to lead your marketing strategy. I'm Robert Rose, and remember, as always, it's your story to tell and where you create all the brand value. So just remember, tell it well. I'll see you next week.